Stop! What have you done, Malik? The scream tore through the windy night as the young fisherman plunged into the roaring river, rescuing a half-human, half-fish creature trapped in a steel net. Lightning flashed across her skin, shimmering like silver, her eyes an entire dying ocean. As he pulled her to the shore, the river water suddenly stilled like glass. From the depths, the god Jiro opened his eyes, etching his name into fate. Any mortal who saves a water spirit must pay with his own heart. Malik did not know that on that night he had planted the seed for a love story that would cross the boundaries between human and divine. And for a child who would carry two bloodlines, a child who could save the entire world or plunge it into darkness. Could the love between a man and a mermaid be strong enough to defy the very destiny of the river? Once upon a time, in an ancient African-American community, along the banks of a wide river named Jiro, there was a small village that lived in harmony with the water and the wind. Each morning, mist blanketed the river's surface, reflecting the golden hues of dawn like a sacred mirror peering into the human soul. The villagers believed that the Jiro River was where ancient spirits dwelled, the life's blood of the world, the breath of their ancestors. No one was permitted to disturb the river's heart, for it had once swallowed whole those who dared harm the water's creatures. Malik, a young man who made his living by fishing, was a man of few words, but his eyes always held a strange light, as if he saw things others could not. His parents had perished in a storm many years before, leaving him a small boat and an old wooden lute. At night, he would sit on the dock, plucking a few notes, listening to the sounds blend between the wind, the water, and his own heartbeat. The village elders called him the child of stillness, because only he could make the river cease its murmurs whenever he sang. That evening, the sky was moonless, with only occasional lightning bolts ripping through the black clouds, illuminating the churning water. Malik secured his fishing nets, about to turn back, when he heard a strange sound. Not the wind, not the birds, but a song. The melody was fragile as a silken thread, weaving through the air, brushing his skin like someone's breath just grazing him. Malik lifted his head, his heart pounding wildly. The song came from the heart of the river, where the waves raged fiercely. A figure emerged amid the rain, half woman, half fish, with long hair like flowing streams, the silver of her scales reflecting the lightning into brilliant shards of light. Malik froze. Folks said mermaids appeared only to lure mortals to their deaths, but the eyes of this creature held no terror. They brimmed with fear and plea. In the downpour, he saw clearly that she was caught in an abandoned steel net from some careless fisherman, the metal cords biting into her tail, dark green blood spreading and mingling with the water. Without a thought, Malik leaped into the surging river. The water was cold as 1,000 needles piercing his flesh, the wind lashing his face, but he dove deep. When his hand touched the silver scales, a jolt of electricity coursed through his body. He untangled each loop of net, each strand of wire, and finally dragged her to the shore. The mermaid lay there, breathing faintly, eyes closed, her skin paling like a fading moon. Malik wrapped his cloak around her, using his small knife to sever the remaining iron barbs. The rain stopped abruptly. The river's surface went still as a mirror, without a single ripple. The air thickened, so quiet that Malik could hear his own heartbeat thundering in his chest. From the depths, a faint light spread, swirling into a spiral. He did not know that at the river's deepest layer, the god Jiro was opening his eyes. The water along the banks flowed backward for a few beats, and a deep voice resounded not through his ears, but straight into Malik's soul. Any mortal who saves a water spirit must pay with his own heart. He startled, looking around, but there was no one. The mermaid stirred slightly, her slender hand grasping his wrist. Malik felt an odd warmth, not quite heat, but an energy that caressed like light touching skin. Her lips parted, releasing a sigh so soft it nearly dissolved into the pattering rain. Then a gentle wave rose, enveloping her body. Before it faded, she opened her eyes to look at him, a gaze wet and profound, like the water's surface hiding an entire sky. When the last light vanished, Malik still stood there, hands empty, but in his palm, a single silver scale remained, glowing faintly like a firefly in the night. He clenched it tightly, heart racing, feeling as though he had lost something and been granted something else he could not yet comprehend. The rain cleared, the sky opened, and the river's surface turned gentle again, as if no storm had ever passed. From that night, Malik was never the same. He dreamed of water flowing through his chest, heard whispers from the riverbed's depths. Each time he plucked his lute, his notes sent ripples across the water, reflecting ethereal blue lights. The villagers began to regard him differently, half curious, half wary. The elders said he had touched what should not be touched. Children gathered to whisper that Malik was the one marked by the river. Yet he could not forget those eyes, nor the misty breath dissolving on his shoulder. Night after night, he went to the dock, placing the silver scale on the water's surface, waiting for something he could not even name. The river flowed silently, carrying the moonlight like a silver silk ribbon around his small boat. The wind whispered through the ancient trees, as if singing the melody he had heard that stormy night. Malik felt that somewhere beneath the surface, a soul was listening to him, echoing each beat of his heart. Time passed slowly, like the river itself. The villagers gradually forgot the old tales, but in Malik's eyes, every sunset carried an unfamiliar phosphorescent glow. He did not know that fateful night had opened a door, where the boundary between human and water spirit grew thin as mist on the river's face. And in the depths, the god Jiro watched still, his gaze shimmering like stars submerged in water, awaiting the moment when the mortal's heart began to merge with the river's breath. And before we continue with the main story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video, okay? And don't forget to comment below where you're watching us from. We love knowing that. From that stormy night, Malik no longer slept through a single full night. Each time the evening mist settled over the river, he saw tiny lights like green fireflies flickering beneath the surface. Some nights, those lights nearly formed a shape, then dissolved, leaving only a gentle wake like a breath. The river was no longer a mindless expanse of water. It had become a living being, watching, waiting. Deep down, Malik knew someone was there below, listening to him every night. One early morning, as he rowed his boat to the bend where the Jiro River kissed the sea, the first sunlight poured down, making the water gleam as if plated in silver. Malik cast his net, but his hand paused. In the clear depths, a long cascade of black hair drifted. He leaned over. The water parted in circles, and her face emerged, Sanae. Still those eyes, deep as an abyss and sparkling like the moon. She looked at him, her lips moving faintly. Malik heard no words, but he felt a sound not through his ears, but through his heart. A short melody, like the river's breath, distant yet intimately chilling. He nodded, extending his hand gently. Sanae glided closer, her hair merging with the water around the boat. The light reflecting from the silver scales on her tail cast onto his face, turning it into shades between reality and dream. From that day, Malik returned to that river bend every night. They did not speak much, sometimes just gazing at each other, sometimes simply listening to the wind rustling through the grass. He brought her young coconuts. She returned them with glowing coral beads, emanating salt and seaweed scents. At times, Malik took out his old wooden lute, plucking a few notes, and she replied with her song, a sound that seemed to draw the moon closer to the water's surface. When her song rose, the river changed color, from deep green to silver, as if it too were smiling. Folk said that when love touches a water spirit, the sky shifts its light. On the 7th night they met, the moonlight fell not white, but a soft lapis blue like a breath. Malik and Sanae looked up together. In the night stillness, seabirds circled overhead, the river water rising as if applauding. She drew closer to him, and the water between them parted suddenly, as if making way for something sacred about to unfold. Sanae spoke, her voice fragile as drifting mist. She was once the keeper of the river's rhythm, the one who sang to lull the god Jiro to sleep. But in a season of great floods, she had saved a human child from drowning, disrupting the order between the two realms. For that, she was exiled, forbidden to sing in the water, doomed to drift forever between shore and riverbed. From that day, she said, only the songs of humans could reach me. Malik listened silently, his fingers trembling on the lute, the notes breaking like falling droplets. A sudden drizzle arrived, falling light as silver dust. Malik looked at her, his eyes no longer those of a fearful man, but of one who had found his lost soul. She reached out, her fingertips brushing his neck, leaving a faint trail of light. Then she drew near, her cold lips touching his lightly, briefly, but carrying a wondrous warmth. In that instant, the water around them blazed, every raindrop halting midair, suspended in a halo of silver. The god Jiro, from the river's deepest place, cracked his eyes open. In that fateful moment, a new covenant was etched into the water. This love will birth a blessing or a calamity. The river will judge. Sane pulled back, the light around her body fading. Malik reached out to hold her, but she had dissolved into the water, leaving swirling ripples that formed a circle, then vanished. Only the scent of salt and sea breath lingered in the air. He sat motionless on the boat, lute still in hand, unfinished melody hanging. The sky turned violet, the water reflecting the sunset, and from somewhere came a tune only he could hear her voice, distant yet familiar, as if melting into his blood. When he returned to the village, folks asked why his eyes gleamed with that strange green. Malik only smiled. He began composing new songs, singing them at festivals, and people marveled as his voice stilled the wind, purified the water. But to him, it was no longer just singing, it was an answer. For when the melody ended, he knew she was somewhere beneath the river, singing along with him in a sound only the heart could hear. In the nights that followed, as the moon rose, light stretched across the river like a silk ribbon, and at that quiet bend, bubbles of silver rose again, a sign that Sane was still there. No one knew when the two souls had truly merged, only that from then on, the Jiro River no longer sang alone. And at dawn, on the fine sand shore, folks found the wet imprint of a woman's hand, right beside Malik's footprint. No one could explain it, but that morning's breeze carried the scent of sea salt and white flowers, a fragrance not of this world. The villagers began retelling the story on moonlit nights, calling it the love song of two worlds. They said that when the river sang too long into the night, it meant the water's child and the mortal man had found each other amid the waves. On the shore, Malik waited quietly still. He no longer wondered if she would return, for he knew she had never truly left. Her song blended into the river's breath, flowing with the current, pulsing through every beat of his heart. And one other night, as he placed his hand on his chest, he clearly heard water flowing within a sound that meant the river had chosen him, and that love, though forbidden, had etched itself into his heart forever. After the blue moon night, Malik felt time slow to a crawl. In the days that followed, he still went to the river, still sang, still cast his nets, but the world around him shifted in every motion. The water held a faint silver sheen even before dawn. Waterbirds gathered in flocks, silent, circling the sky as if tracing invisible paths of an ancient rite. Villagers said the river season was turning, that the spirits were reclaiming their lost songs. Malik said nothing. Within him, a premonition rose. Something was forming, not just in the water, but in his own body, where his heart beat to a different rhythm. One afternoon, as sunset swept across the river, Malik saw her again. Sane surfaced amid the light streak, her wet hair cascading like a small stream. No words were needed, one look, and he understood. In her eyes burned a gentle, heavy light, as if carrying the sun itself. She placed her hand on her belly, where the skin glowed faintly, the light of new life. Malik went still, throat tightening. He knelt, touching the translucent skin with his fingertips, feeling the tiny heartbeat pulsing beneath his palm. The river rippled, each small wave like an invisible divine hand caressing the life about to be born. Sane did not cry, but her eyes shimmered as if holding a swelling ocean. She could not stay long, her form began to fade with the early sunlight's touch. So Malik found a small cave by the river, where ancient tree roots draped down, the water lapping only to her chest. He named it simply the Sleeping Wave Cave. There, they met each night, sharing warmth, stealing fleeting moments from time's divine grasp. Gradually, Sane's belly swelled round. In each of her songs, Malik heard two layers of sound, her voice and the child's within, tiny yet resonant like distant waves crashing. Each time Malik laid his hand on her skin, light from the belly spread, illuminating the watery cave, turning river stones to jewels. Those were warm nights, yet fear crept in. As birth neared, the river changed hue. The water muddied, waves grew higher. Forest birds no longer crossed. Villagers began whispering that the Jiro River was angry. By day, Malik hid away, avoiding the market. Neighbors who once greeted him with smiles now averted their eyes. Some hurled stones at his boat, muttering of the unclean bond between man and spirit. Beneath the village's central baobab tree, the council of elders convened, led by Mama Obi, the keeper of the river god's covenant. Her silver hair draped her shoulders like moss, her voice heavy as stone. She declared the river's thirst stemmed from one who had awakened a forbidden spirit. All eyes turned to Malik. One evening, as sacrificial smoke rose thick from the square, Malik hid in the tree shadows, watching the rite. Mama Obi thrust her staff into the flames. As the tip touched the glowing coals, the fire turned emerald green, twisting into a circle before erupting into a pillar of light. The crowd gasped in terror. An old man cried out, "The gods have spoken. A water spirit is trapped in mortal flesh." Eyes poured toward the riverbank where Malik once stood singing. In the wind, he heard the river's roar, but not in anger, like a warning. That night, Malik returned to the sleeping wave cave. Sane lay on her side, hair fanning out like black silk on the water. She smiled weakly. Malik told her of the green fire, the villagers' fearful stares. Sane fell silent, her hand tracing small waves on the surface. They fear what they do not understand, her eyes soft as moonlight, and the river fears our love. But the blood seed is sown. No one can take back what is given. A strong gust swept through the cave mouth, carrying cold mist. On the river's surface, silver light flashed, then submerged. Sane turned, her voice low like stones tumbling underwater. "The god Jiro may test us. He may take something to restore balance. But if this child lives, your world will be saved." Malik made no reply. He sat beside her through the night, watching her belly stir gently, listening to the river sync with their heartbeats. Outside, rain pattered like fingers drumming a ritual beat. Before dawn, Sane placed her hand on his cheek, green light from her skin spreading to his, warm and soft as breath. "If I fade," she whispered, "remember, the river never truly takes it, only holds what we love." As the first light touched the cave entrance, she dissolved into the water, leaving a new silver scale on the surface. Malik took it, placing it beside the old one in his pocket. Now he had two pieces, two halves of a covenant, one from the stormy night, one from love. From that day, the river sang no more gentle tunes. It rumbled deep bass notes like funeral drums. Rain fell endlessly. Beneath, the god Jiro churned the currents, preparing for the birth of a half-human, half-water being. On the shore, villagers erected altars, and in the deep cave, Malik knelt by the water, hand where she once lay, whispering like prayer. He did not know that every song, every note he had ever sung was weaving into a hymn, heralding the approaching seed of blessing the child of two worlds. But at the same time, across the water's surface, a silent bolt of lightning etched the sky, a sign that the divine was coming, to reclaim what man had bartered with his heart. The sky changed before the people realized it. Over the Jiro River, thin lightning threads like bright needles slashed the clouds. The waves did not churn wildly, but grew heavy and murky, as if harboring rage. The wind carried scents of salt and scorched iron, the smell the village elders called the mark of the river god stirring. Each morning, Malik rowed out, the water splashing back under the oars in silver-streaked circles. He felt that motion, like breath rising from the earth, signaling something inevitable no one could halt. In the sleeping wave cave, Sane weakened day by day. Her skin no longer gleamed as before. The light in her belly dimmed, then flared, like a lamp battered by wind. Malik stayed close, draping dried seaweed around the cave's edge to shield from prying eyes. He sang to her each night, old songs from his father, but the voice no longer carried far. It was swallowed by the space, as if the river held its breath. In Sane's eyes, worry grew. For the unborn child, and for the mortal man bearing her fate. Rumors spread through the village like wildfire. Dead fish washed ashore, riverside rice fields yellowed, children raved in fever. The river god is offended, they said. Someone has awakened the water spirits. They spoke of Malik, the singing fisherman with silver-reflecting eyes. Each time he passed the market, conversations hushed, hands quietly made signs beseeching the divine. The sense of being watched clung to him like a shadow. But every night, he returned to the cave, for in the dim water glow, Sane waited. One evening at the wind season's end, as black clouds blanketed the sky, villagers gathered beneath the ancient baobab. Flickering torches lit Mama Obi's stern face, guardian of Jiro's laws. She raised her ritual staff high, its tip wrapped in dried crocodile skin, murmuring, "The river thirsts. A man has mixed mortal blood with sacred. If not returned, the river will swallow the village whole." The crowd bowed low, drums beating steady as the earth's pulse. As Obi lowered the staff to the coals, the flames turned deep green, then violet, exhaling spiraling smoke. It was confirmation the forbidden spirit awakened. Malik stood at the edge, cold sweat on his brow. He knew they were coming for the cave. Wind rose, carrying storm's damp. From afar, the drums shifted to frantic rhythm, like pursuing footsteps. He ran, heart sinking with thunder. Rain fell in heavy drops like hurled stones. At the riverbank, he saw steam rising from the water, light spilling from the cave, the light of birth and judgment intertwined. In the cave, Sane knelt in shallow water, hands cradling her belly, light spreading wide around her. Water rose inch by inch, small waves crashing against stone walls. Malik rushed to her, kneeling, gripping her hand tight. She smiled, lips trembling. The moment has come. The words light as wind, but numbing his entire body. Outside, voices shouted, "He's there! Bring the fire!" Torches blazed through the rain. A thunderclap ripped the sky. The storm unleashed with the drums. River water flooded the cave, swirling violently around them. Sane lifted her head, eyes blazing like shattered moons. She screamed in a tongue no longer human. Waves reared up, rain turned to silver. In the wind's howl, villagers saw a colossal water column erupt from the river's heart, towering to the heavens. And at its center, the mermaid's silhouette clutching her belly, her body's light illuminating the land. Mama Obi prostrated, mouth uttering prayer. "Mercy, God Jiro, quell your wrath." But thunder replied with a prolonged rumble. As blinding light flashed, the ground quaked. Then everything went dark. When the storm broke, rain ceased, waters receded. Only Malik lay slumped on the riverbank, clothes torn, skin caked in mud and salt. Beside him, no Sane. Only a large glowing shell lay quietly on the sand, faint green light pulsing inside like a heartbeat. Villagers gathered, eyeing him with fear and pity. No one spoke. Malik clutched the shell to his chest, tears mingling with river water. That night, the village sank into silence. No drums, only water dripping from thatched roofs. Mama Obi sat before her altar, candle flickering. In the hazy smoke, she saw the river take human form, a young man with eyes bright as wet steel, voice echoing in her mind. A spirit has been bartered, but the scales are not yet balanced. The seed lives. She awoke, trembling, body shaking. As for Malik, in his small hut by the shore, he cradled the glowing shell all night. Its light pierced the mat, casting swirling patterns on the walls like the river's eyes. Each pulse of light was a heartbeat, the heartbeat of the child, not yet born. Outside, the Jiro River turned gentle again, but those who listened would recognize. A very soft melody hid beneath the flow, like a lullaby from beyond the watery realm. Malik lifted his head, his eyes reflecting the growing green light in his hands. He knew the storm was only beginning. Are you still here, my dear audience? Pause for a moment, relax, maybe take a sip of water, then listen to the captivating continuation. Comment number 1 if you find this story interesting. Don't forget to hit subscribe to the channel. In the nights after the storm, the village of Oba fell into an eerie quiet. no drums, no chants. The Giro River's surface lay flat as a mirror, but beneath the still water, something stirred. Small fish swam upstream, fireflies gathered along the banks, and in the air, salt mingled with wet earth scents. The elders called it the scent of a new soul arriving. Malik lived isolated by the shore, his small hut now moss-covered in green, only an oil lamp casting faint golden light on the shell each night. From within the shell, the light pulsed steadily, the silent heartbeat of an unseen being. Sometimes, in the dead of night, that light flared brighter, flooding the room as if submerged, and he heard whispers, clear laughter, a tiny song, sometimes a very soft call, not quite human, not entirely river. One night, Malik dreamed. He walked through crystal-clear water, stars filling the sky above, swirling light trails below like silk ribbons. At the watery path's end, a familiar figure. Sanae stood there, face gentle as a crescent moon, hair flowing with the current. She spoke without sound, but Malik understood. It is time. Then she placed her hand on her belly, where light rose like a silver wave. As Malik stepped forward, the water surged, and the entire sky dissolved into light. He jolted awake, sweat-soaked. Outside, the Giro River blazed, as if the whole surface burned with moonlight. A soft song rose, its strange melody vibrating the air like 1,000 tiny bells ringing. Malik took the shell, stepping to the bank. The water parted in glowing circles, and from the river's center, a water column rose silently, then bursting into silver rain. Amid that glow, Sanae's silhouette appeared, translucent, light as smoke, her smile veiled in mist. She said nothing, only extended her hand toward him. Malik approached, placing the shell in her palm. The light within erupted, illuminating the sky. Surrounding water droplets began to sparkle, then floated mid-air like living crystals. A long, resonant note arose from the river's depths. Not thunder, but a song born from water itself. It quivered in the air, touching skin, heart, sending shivers through Malik's body. In that glow, Sanae closed her eyes. From her heart, another halo spread, merging with the shell's light. The two beams twisted, shooting upward like a silver pillar linking sky and water. As the pillar faded, a small glowing speck drifted on the surface, emanating gentle warmth like a child's breath. Malik leaned down, trembling hands lifting the speck. The form of a tiny infant gradually emerged in his grasped skin, like morning mist, hair shimmering silver, eyes opening clear as calm water after a gale. No words passed, but when the child's gaze met his, Malik heard Sanae's lullaby echoing in his mind. She was everywhere, in the water, in the wind, in the child's heartbeat. Malik understood. She had dissolved into the river to sustain this life, and the child carried both souls' mortal blood and water's breath. He cradled the infant to his chest, tears falling with the rain. Each drop hitting the ground turned to light, flowing back to the river, dissolving like stardust. Overhead, clouds parted, revealing a full moon brighter than any seen. Its light touched down, reflecting on the child's hair, turning it to a small lamp in the night. Malik named her Nia, meaning purpose, in the ancestors' tongue, for he believed this child was not just a miracle, but a reminder. Every true love carries a sacred purpose humanity has yet to fully grasp. In the days that followed, Malik raised his daughter on the village's edge, in the old hut. Each morning, he heard Nia's laughter, light as wind through leaves. Each evening, as Nia slept, her skin emitted a faint glow, filling the room with moonlight. Villagers gradually learned of the river's child. Some feared, some wondered, but none dared approach. Only Mama Obi, after a night of visions, knocked at his door. She looked at the child, tears falling. The blessing has truly come, but blessings always demand sacrifice. Malik bowed his head, silent, only tightening his hold on his daughter. Nia grew swiftly, strong as if the river nourished her from within. Wherever her feet trod, grass grew greener, birds perched. When she laughed, river waves rippled in rhythm like song. As for Malik, though still quiet, his eyes now held the faith long, swept away by fear. He began singing again. Each time his voice rose, the Jiro River gleamed brighter, and folk said that in the depths, the god Jiro smiled for balance had temporarily returned. On the last night of the season, with the moon hanging midway in the sky, Malik stood by the bank, holding Nia. The child's light illuminated his face. In that instant, water and sky merged as one, and Sane's voice rose once more, light as breath. "Teach her to sing, as I sang for you." Malik looked down at the river, seeing their reflections blend in the waves, his and hers. He smiled, whispering, "I will teach her to sing." With the hearts of two worlds, the wind brushed past, waves lapping his feet, like an answer. Time flowed like the river's breath. No one knew how many years had passed since that moonlit night. The Jiro still meandered gently, but each flood season, its surface shimmered soft silver, as if recalling an old promise. In the small hut by the bank, Nia had grown. The girl had hair soft as water threads, silver gleaming, and eyes clear as if the moon gazed at itself through the riverbed. With each step she took, grass thickened, flower scents wafting on the wind across the space. Villagers remained cautious, but initial fear yielded to curiosity. Children sneaked close to see the river's child, then returned whispering that she spoke to butterflies, that when she touched a wilted flower, it bloomed anew. Malik offered no explanations. He only taught her to keep a kind heart and never forget to thank the water each morning. Sometimes, as night fell, Nia sat by the riverbank, hand dipping into the surface. Small waves rose, tracing glowing spirals around her fingers. She heard whispers in the water, the old songs of her mother, instructions light as breath. When the wind carries salt scent, listen to what the trees say. She did not fully understand, but her small heart knew those words mattered, like her own pulse. One early morning, while mist still hung thick and wind sifted through palm rows, Mama Obe came seeking Malik. She was older now, hair snow-white, but her eyes sharp as a blade. She walked slowly, leaning on her staff, each step imprinting the earth like a distant drumbeat. Malik met her at the hut door. No words passed for a while, only the river's murmur beyond. Then she spoke, voice raspy. "I dreamed of the river blooming, a golden flower larger than the rising sun, blooming amid the water. I heard Sane's song, and the child's light." Malik bowed his head. She continued, "If what I saw is true, that child carries not just blessing. She will be the bridge of two worlds. But every bridge has its toll." Malik stayed silent, watching Nia play by the bank, her hair dancing in the sun. He wanted no more prophecies. Life held too much loss already. But Nia turned, her eyes seeming to comprehend all. She ran to them, grasping Mama Obe's hand, her small palm radiating warmth that smoothed the wrinkles on the elder's skin. "Don't be afraid, grandmother," Nia said softly. "The river told me the light in hearts never fades, even in darkness." That voice stunned Mama Obe in a flash. She saw Sanaya's eyes peering through the child's. That afternoon, she led Nia and Malik to the ancient baobab's roots, where ancestors believed the world's navel lay, roots touching water, veins and branches the sky. The air there was thick with earth, tree sap, and salt wind from the river. She bid Nia sit amid the root circle, then began chanting ancient prayers. Her voice boomed like far-off drums, blending with the river. As the final words ended, the ground quivered faintly, and a small light crack opened in the trunk, revealing a hidden glowing shell, the sacred relic of old. Mama Obe trembled, handing it to Nia. "This is your mother's remaining promise. When this shell sings, the gate between realms opens. But you must choose save the human world or preserve the river." Nia took it, light bathing her small face. In that moment, wind stilled, leaves ceased rustling, everything hushed as mist. Nia closed her eyes, placing the shell to her chest. A soft sound emerged, like a water heartbeat. The relic's light spread, illuminating the baobab, making the whole trunk glow. Mama Obe stepped back, tears welling. The divine has accepted. The gate is open. Overhead, a spiraling cloud ribbon appeared, mirroring the river's green. Malik felt the ground warm beneath his feet, as if the earth breathed. Nia opened her eyes. pupils reflecting land and water. I hear them speaking, she whispered. The old river spirits, the forgotten songs. They beg to be healed. Malik knelt, hand on her shoulder, but it trembled. In the surrounding light, he glimpsed Sane again, her smile, her song, the moonlit promise of years past. From afar, the river began its old melody. Silver ripples formed, wind shifted, and rain fell not fierce, but soft as silk. Mama Ob lifted her head, listening, murmuring. The water calls. When the river sings, the world changes. Nia rose. The light around her softened, a thin halo like a crescent moon. She looked at her father, eyes clear. Father, I must go. They need me. Malik wanted to say no, but the words caught in his throat. He understood. The river had chosen his daughter, as it once chose Sane. This choice belonged not to humans. Mama Ob leaned on her staff, watching father and daughter in the sunset light. If you go, she said softly, go with love, not fear. For only love quiets the river's wrath. Nia bowed her head, small hand clutching the shell, its glow flaring against her chest. The sky then turned deep purple, cloud edges glowing pink as embers. The distant Jiro sparkled, waiting. Malik stood frozen, watching his daughter step toward the river light. Each footprint left a faint, glowing trail on the earth, then faded. As Nia's silhouette merged with the mist, Malik heard Sane's voice again, woven into the waves. Don't cry, for water never truly leaves, it only changes form. He nodded faintly, eyes brimming, hand clutching the old silver scale in his pocket. Wind rose, baobab leaves drifting down, each twirling midair like farewells. Then suddenly, the entire river turned emerald green, an ancient sign the divine was returning. Malik glanced at Mama Obi. Both understood. Nia's journey had begun, and with it, a trial the lineage had never witnessed. In the days after the prophecy, the sky lost its former blue. The Jiro's waters muddied, swirling with strange silt from the depths. A fishy stench filled the air. Forest birds scattered in panic, fish swam upstream then washed up dead. Villagers of Oba grew afraid. They said the water ached, that the river's spirits had awakened and sought what was lost. Malik sensed it first, above all. He heard the river rumble through the nights, not the gentle song of old, but a deep growl, heavy, like the world weeping in its chest. Each time Nia stepped to the bank, waves surged. The light around her flared brighter, but in her eyes, he saw the sorrow Sane once bore. The sorrow of one who knows love with humans always brings loss. One dawn, Mama Obi rushed over, face ashen. The strange sickness has spread, she said. The water burns skin raw, plants wither, wild beasts flee. Villagers say the river's child brings doom. Malik clenched his fists, but Naya only bowed her head. She listened to the water at her feet and murmured, "It's not the river angry at people. People have forgotten to sing to the river." Her words chilled Obi. That night, wind blew backward, waves crashing the bank like 1,000 drumming hands. Overhead, lightning wove a white web. Nia knelt before the hut door, shell in hand, pulsing with her heart. Malik wanted to hold her back, but she looked at him with uncanny calm. "I must go, father. They're dying slowly, and the river calls me." Malik tried to stop her, but the wind scattered his unspoken words. He only managed to drape his mother's old shawl over her shoulders, then watched her head to the bank. On the river, green light erupted, piercing the clouds. Nia stepped down, water rising around her feet, but not cold. With each step, the water brightened, as if healing. When she reached midstream, a water column reared, splitting into two, revealing a colossal figure of water and light, the god Jiro, ancient guardian of the currents. His face was indistinct, only eyes gleaming like wet jewels, seeing through to the soul. His voice boomed like thunder, yet warm as breath. "Child of two worlds, why have you come?" Nia lifted her head, voice small but clear. "Because the people hurt, and I want to heal." The water around her stilled for a moment, then Jiro replied, "Healing always has a price. The waters lost balance. Only sacrifice restores it. She asked, "Who must sacrifice?" The god paused. Then his voice pierced like wind through stone. "One of water and one of earth. One returns to the river's heart. One loses the soul to preserve the light." Malik shouted from the bank, but wind swallowed his cry. He plunged into the water, swimming toward her, eyes stinging from splashes. Nia turned, her light spreading in a circle that halted the waves. "Father, no," she said. "You gave me life. Let me give it back to the world." Malik swam closer, but as his hand touched the light ring, water walled like glass, pushing him back. The column behind Nia blazed. Jiro raised his hand, and wind ceased entirely. Time froze. Nia looked up, eyes mirroring the sky. "If sacrifice is needed," she said, "take my soul, but let my father live." Her voice carried, blending with the starting rain, heavy drops like falling light. Jiro bowed his head. "A water soul cannot dissolve. It only shifts dwelling. You will not die. You will become the river's song." Nia smiled. Light from her chest erupted, flooding the river. In that instant, visions appeared in the water. Sanae smiling, Malik singing, the village of Oba in radiant dawn. Then all dissolved into blinding light. Malik was thrust back to shore. He opened his eyes, tears mixing with river water. Midstream, no Nia, only a silver light ribbon weaving with the waves, singing a gentle lullaby. That song threaded the air, touching rooftops, rousing the sick. Their skin glowed anew, breaths evened. Saplings greened, beasts returned. The Jiro, once murky and pained, now ran so clear the bottom showed. Mama Obi prostrated on the bank, tears with rain. She murmured, "The girl paid for us." But that light does not fade. Malik sat silent, gazing where the river sang long. In the silver gleam, he glimpsed Nia's silhouette, faint as smoke she had not left, but become the water's soul, the singer lulling the river to rest. That night, Oba village blazed with thousands of lanterns floated on the river. Villagers lined the banks, singing Nia's tune, the one she taught the children. The voices merged with water, and folks said from then on, Jiro never raged again. But Malik knew the river still held the old promise. When the waters sing once more, the singer returns. And he waited, day by season, by the water's edge. One night, as wind shifted, he heard that song fragile as thread, warm as human heart rising from the depths. He smiled, knowing his daughter lingered there, flowing in every current, and love had not ended. All right, my dear audience, if you're watching and find this story intriguing, comment number 1 or "I'm still here to keep listening." The new flood season came earlier than any year. Rain fell 3 days and nights, but no one feared. Oba villagers stood on porches, watching the river rise carrying silver gleams. When rain stopped, earth greened lush, rice fields burst with grain, white flowers bloomed along the banks. They called it the season of grace, the first since Nia merged with the river. The Jiro River now sang day and night. Its flow had rhythm, like breath. Each morning, as sun struck, light ribbons twisted in the depths, forming spirals like the divine's fingerprints. No one doubted, the child of two realms had kept her word. The river returned gentle, land healed. And in each heart, something shifted. They regarded one another with softer eyes, as if water had washed away all grudges. Malik still dwelled in his small hut by the bank, but loneliness had fled. Children came to hear his tales, elders to ask of old songs. When Nia was mentioned, he only smiled, pointing to the river. She's still there. When the river sings, she's smiling. At night, he plucked the ancient wooden lute, notes blending with water, and sometimes, mid-melody, another voice joined, clear, distant responding. One morning, Mama Obi sought him. She walked slow, but eyes shone like gems. In her hands, a flask of crystal-clear river water. She set it on the table, murmuring, "The village asked me to lead a Thanksgiving rite. They want you there, Malik, for you brought the water's soul back." He shook his head, voice low. "Not me, the girl. I only kept the promise." She smiled. "And that's why you were chosen." The festival unfolded beneath the baobab, site of the old prophecy. Villagers brought offerings, corn, river, fish, flowers, tiny oil lamps. As sun set, Mama Obi poured water from the flask into her palms, drops falling to earth, turning to sparkling flecks. She intoned, "O God Jiro, O Spirit of Nia, O water that flowed through fear to become grace, receive this gratitude." The prayer rose with the wind. The river turned soft lapis blue, a mirror of joy. Suddenly, wind gusted. All oil lamps flared bright, then snuffed out. The square plunged into dark, only water trickling. Villagers held breath. Malik lifted his head, and amid the night, a small light column rose from the river. Not brilliant, soft as mist, but within, he saw Nia's form, silver hair sparkling, eyes serene. She spoke, not only raised her hand, palm glowing. From it, hundreds of tiny light drops separated, floating upward then falling, dissolving into hair, shoulders of the villagers. When a drop touched one, hearts lightened, old wounds ceased aching. Children cheered, elders wept. Mama Obi knelt, tears mixing with night rain. Malik stepped to the bank. Wind pushed waves to his feet, and in them, the familiar song rose soft but clear. "Father, I'm here." He closed his eyes, a tear falling to merge with the river. The song replied in pure resonance, then faded. When he opened his eyes, the light column gone, only peaceful river remained, moon tracing a long, shimmering path. From that night, the Jiro River bore a new name, Nia Jiro, meaning River of Life. Each full moon season, folks floated flower lanterns on the water, singing the tune Nia taught, reminding that kindness and sacrifice never vanish. They become light in the water drop, flowing endlessly. Time blurred the pain, but in Malik's heart, the memory never faded. He aged, beard and hair silver as mist, but each first rain of the season, he went to the bank, hand to water, feeling caressing warmth spread across skin. Some nights, he heard children's laughter somewhere in the river, and he knew it was his daughters, still singing the world to sleep. Mama Obe passed in the following sun season. Before closing her eyes, she charged the villagers. "When sky holds no rain yet river rises, fear not." That's when Nia returns. And truly, years later, in prolonged droughts, the Jiro swelled gently, bringing cool relief and white flower scents. One sunset afternoon, when Malik had weakened, he went to the riverbank one last time. No wind, surface flat as glass. He saw his reflection aged, serene, and beside it, Sane's silhouette, faint as mist, smiling. Behind her, a curving light ribbon where Nia stood, hand-waving, clear as crescent moonlight. He felt no fear, only lightness, like water flowing backward through time, carrying him to where it all began. Then he murmured, "I kept the promise." And as sun dipped, river light swelled, enveloping him in silver waves. Folks said, when they searched, no Malik remained, only the old wooden lute on the bank, strings humming faintly in the wind, as if someone still sang from beyond the watery realm. From then, they believed every drop in the Jiro carried a soul, the soul of love, sacrifice, grace turned to song. Many generations passed since Malik vanished into the river. The Nia Jiro flowed on, gentle as Earth's heartbeat. Each full moon, silver water bathed Oba village, tinting all in sacred glow. Elders told children of the fisherman and mermaid, the child of two realms, the symphony of water and man. But to villagers, it was no mere legend, Earth's true memory. On the river's east bank, a small house rose where Malik's hut once stood. That family lived by weaving and song, voices carrying far, soft as wind, strong as water. In that home, a boy was born, named Eli, great-grandson to Malik. He had sky-blue eyes and a water-drop birthmark on his left wrist. From first words, he sang with the river. Mornings, Eli sat by the bank, skipping stones, watching circles spread. He heard echoes, resonances, and sometimes whispers. "Eli." The river called his name. "The singer's blood still flows in you." He looked around, seeing no one, only a white cloud hovering like a hand. He told his grandmother, but she only smiled. "The river teaches its own tongue. Listen, don't fear." At 13, Eli heard strange music in the wind, like hundreds of shells chiming together. That evening, the river turned lapis, waves lapping like greeting. He ran to the bank, seeing a small silver light column rise midstream, dissolving into thousands of sparks flying toward the village. The sparks touched roofs, trees, making all hum like song. Villagers called it the river's singing night, and from then, every child born that season heard sharper, saw clearer. Eli grew amid those sounds. He learned lullabies and lute from elders. When his strings rang, river water echoed back in reply. But unlike forebears, Eli did not just hear, he understood. He knew when the river sorrowed, when it raged. Some nights, water rose, not from rain, but from human quarrels, felled forests, encroaching lands. He heard the river weep, soft and long, like a mother's desperate lullaby. One day, Eli dreamed of standing in the old cave, once called Sleeping Wave by Malik. Light beamed from stone walls, and at center, a silver-glowing girl, hair flowing like water. She smiled. "I am Nia." He bowed, trembling. Nia approached, hand to his forehead. "You will be my new song. But remember, sing for water and man alike, for when one falls silent, the other dies." When Eli woke, his brow was wet, as if truly touched by water. From then, Eli wandered from Oba village to neighboring lands. Where earth cracked dry, he sang. Where rivers muddied, he played lute. Waters rose, trees sprouted, and folks called him the child of the water drop. But he refused the title. "I only listen," he said. "I only sing back what the river sends." In a drought year, land split, river shrank, villagers panicked, beseeching old gods, but water hid. Eli knew it was not wrath, but weariness. "People forgot to sing," he said. That night, he walked to the dry river heart, carrying Malik's lute. He sat, plucking the first notes. At first, only wind answered. Then earth quivered softly. First drops welled from cracks, moon reflecting. He sang louder, Nia's melody, Sane's, Malik's. The song swelled, silver silk winding the sky. Villagers poured out, circling him. Old and young alike joined voices. The whole village harmonized a song of water and man. Rain fell, not fierce, but gentle as Nia's once given breath. The river revived, brimming, reflecting thousands of oil lamps. Villagers floated. Amid rain, Eli looked up, seeing high above the faint forms of Malik and Nia, moon misted, smiling down. From then, each year Oba held the Water Song Festival, where children sang to the river, and it answered in light. Folks said when a child voiced its first note, Nia Jiro gleamed a bit brighter. That song spread the region, through fields, forests, to the sea. And wherever water flowed, Nia's breath lingered, Malik's lesson, Eli's echo, linking generations unmet, yet speaking one tongue. Now, as sun sets, if you pass the Nia Jiro, you'll hear wind skimming water into music. Elders say it's Nia lulling descendants. Youth claim it's human hearts sinking with the world. Perhaps both true, for water and man were never truly apart. And that night, with moon full as a giant shell hung mid-sky, Eli stood by the bank, eyes closed. He heard song whisper in wind, a woman's voice, warm, resonant, as if rising from earth's core. Remember, every water drop is a memory, and memory lives only when sung. He smiled, plucking one more note, lute blending with river. Far off, water flashed like 1,000 eyes, witnesses to generations' promise. While song endures, water lives. Many years flowed by. The Nia Jiro sang ceaselessly, but its song now carried far sea breath, deep, salty, vast. Elders said, when river learns to sing like ocean, it nears its birthplace. Oba village grew beyond its old smallness. Wooden bridges turned to white stone, markets lined the banks, nightly songs filled air. Though changed, the village kept the annual rite to honor first souls turned to river. Eli, now full grown, his hair bronzed, Nia Jiro's blue eyes still shone under moon. He was no longer the boy singing only for river. He carried that song afar, beyond land's bounds, to waters ancestors never touched. One night, Eli dreamed of sea, an edgeless expanse where light and shadow mingled. In dream, a call, river's child, bring the song home to mother. Waking, his chest still vibrated to the tune. He knew, time had come. Next morning, Eli stood by Baobab, still sentinel of Earth's dreams. Mama Obi gone, but from trunk, her echo, go, for water cannot stay one place. He knelt, hand to roots, feeling silent pulse below like river heart urging. Villagers knew Eli's departure neared. They gifted a small boat of oak, adorned white shells Nia's emblem. As boat launched, ripples danced hullside, like river hands waving. Eli carried Malik's lute, Ob's sacred flask, river's charge. Sing for where I go, not just where I was born. The journey began. Boat drifted through gleaming waters, past forests, plains, nameless hamlets. Days, sun scattered like salt, nights, river silvered. At each stop, Eli sang. Where thirst parched, flask water sweetened. Where land cracked, rain came. Folks dubbed him the singer of the water drop, but Eli smiled. I only answer mother's call. One night, as river widened to sea mouth, full moon poured onto water. Sea appeared endless, radiant, world's heart reopening. Waves beat 3 times, then hushed. Eli knew sea listened. He set lute on knees, sat mid-boat, and sang. The song unlike any, lullaby and prayer, distant call of ancient souls. Waves rose, circling boat in rings. Moonbeams merged with music. Amid song, Eli heard others join Malik's, Nia's, Sane's, hundreds of water-dissolved spirits. Each wave drop a word, each gust a memory. Sea lit up. Thousands silver streaks twisted to colossal figure the ocean god. Face ethereal, eyes holding skies. Voice deep, resonant. Child of river, what do you sing to me? Eli answered, voice steady. I sing of memories, of every soul fallen and lifted. God pondered, sea turning golden. Then keep that song for the world. So when waters dry, humans remember they once sang with river. Light from God's hand spread, touching Eli's lute. Strings silvered, glow flooding sea. Waves beat long, shattering to rain on land, salty yet soothing, washing dust and sorrow. Eli lifted head, tears with rain. He knew. Song passed on, sea embracing river. At dawn, Eli's boat floated calm mid-sea. Horizon blurred with light. He plucked final notes, strings mingling waves, then released. Boat spun slow, like bowing thanks. And in that moment, from water, a thin, light ribbon rose silver shell shape, Nia's sign. Eli smiled, whispering, Mother called me home. None knew what followed. Some said boat sank traceless. Others, Eli became waterbird winging to sun. Only that nightly, far sea song lingered. Waves crashing shore carried warm echoes like Malik's lute. Sane's lullaby, Nia's laugh, Eli's breath. Oba villagers later built the water temple at Rivermouth, where river meets sea. Yearly, they floated white shells, calling it the song's return day. They believed when shells touched waves, water remembered path to human hearts. Wind carried that song afar, blending waves. Sea and river merged, prayers verses complete. From then, tales told. Where sea names the river, water bears not just life, it bears memory, gratitude, endless love of souls weaving first song. And today, if you stand by Niajiro under bright moon, you might hear water murmur softly. Sing, O human, for every song saves a water drop. As the final melody dissolved in night, Niajiro flowed on. No more Malik, Sane, Nia, or Eli, but their echoes remained, woven in water, in every breath along the banks. Elders said, water never vanishes, it only changes form. And perhaps that's this story's soul. Love and mercy never disappear, only pass from one heart to another, like river to sea. Today, Oba's descendants live everywhere from Louisiana to Haiti, Lagos to New York. They still hear ancient song and wind. Each rain, they look up, smile, whisper. That's Nia, returning. For water flows not just through land, it flows through memory, blood, tears, and hopes of African people worldwide. Malik's, Sanae's, Nia's, and Eli's tale is no mere legend, it's reminder for every generation. Honor the source, speak kindly, sing to one another. For every kind act you do today is a water drop adding to love's endless flow. If you've listened this far, share this story with someone dear, perhaps your mother, sibling, or a friend in America needing hope, roots, rebirth. And don't forget to comment below. Where are you listening from, and what time is it now? Like, subscribe, and share, because each retelling makes one more drop in Niajiro shine anew.